Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome in to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI. Titan MRI has been, I love Titan MRI. They have been so special to me, Joe Calorio and them over there. And of course, we're coming to you from the Meldon Law studios, and Meldon Law has been great to me here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and the helmets look good. So it's a good day, right? We have a great show for you. Andrea Adelson from ESPN is going to join us. She is so interesting to talk to. We'll talk a lot of ACC. We'll talk some Gators, too. She was a UF graduate in the journalism school. We were talking about whether we'd have a show Thursday. We will. Matt Hayes is going to join us, and the great Robbie Andrew. So we're going to tape that show a little early in the day because I get to go on vacation as soon as it's over. But a show with Matt Hayes and Robbie Andrews cannot be a bad show. I think that's all I had to say, yes. I was going to talk about something. All right, let's get to number one. Let's get to the Process Service of Gainesville. Starting five, brought to you by the Process Service of Gainesville, Scott Hart, and the folks over there. We appreciate them so much. And I just want to thank him for all the service. Thanking him for his service of paying money. that people who pay on time, thank you for your. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to make a joke about the military. Please stop. All right, let's go with the Process Service of Gainesville, starting five. Well, and usually what it is the number one story in Gainesville right now. Well, to me, the number one story is we need rain. Come on. There's an area in my front yard, and there's an area on every green at Ironwood that look the same color, and it's not green. Green is not even in this family. They're brown and they're turning dark brown. You can water it as much as you want, but until you get rain. But that's not the number one story. The number one story is that we're done. You know, tonight we do have a Game 7 and a Game 7. To me, Game 3 of the College World Series and the finals is Game 7-ish. But that's it. And then we're done. You know, we have nothing going on. It's a good time to spend more time with your family as long as it's inside because it's too hot outside. I've been playing a lot of golf, but I'm getting to the point where it's just too hot. I played the other day 7 holes, and I went, you probably need to go in. It's a little too warm. But there's not a whole lot going on. I'm looking forward to tonight's games and everything. And there's other stuff coming up. You know, the British Open's over a month away. Media Days is the same weekend, which I'm not going to be at, but I still would like to watch it. But luckily, Major League Baseball, which I'm not a huge I can't just sit and watch any Major League Baseball game the way some people can. I'm not, I don't see it as a cathedral and the white lines and the green grass look like emeralds. That's not me. I do that on golf, but still, we have enough of that going on. I guess we'll get through the summer, especially if this guy gets hot. And this is our Campus USA play of the weekend. And this is, you know him, Wyatt Langford. That ball is deep. It is not coming back. His first grand slam of his career. And you can tell, obviously he's popular there, and he's popular with his fans and popular with all, Wyatt Langford's a good dude, man. The Trenton Thunder, only his third home run now, don't forget. And don't forget, this is a 2-0 game in the 8th inning when he hits the grand slam. So it's a big hit. Boom. God, that looked like Omaha again, all over again. But anyway, we're rooting so hard for him, as we will be for whatever team drafts Jack. Now, I will say that, but I will tell you that if the Yankees or the Mets draft Jack Caglione, I will not be a fan of his. Peter Alonso, loved the guy when he was here. Had great conversations. He's a Met. I ain't rooting for you, buddy. Sorry. It's just the way it works. But if you're in the home run derby, I'll root for you because I don't care then. But so we'll just have to make do with sports for a while here and make do with the show. We're going to bring you a lot of football talk going forward from this point. We've been doing a lot of baseball talk, and for a good reason. When you're in the College World Series, you're down. You finished third in the country in baseball. We're going to talk about you. But we'll be doing a lot more football going forward here on our podcast. All right, let's get to number 2 on the process service of Gainesville starting 5, and that is, I thought about this today, and I was like a little disturbed by it, even though it's not, there's no news here. It's just something I thought about, which makes it news to me because my brain doesn't work too good. This is on consecutive days, I will tell you this. I left the front door of my car wide open the entire night. And then the next day, forgot to close my trunk until the car beeped me to make it do it. So maybe I'm really going. It could be on set, you know. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do the best I can. But one thing I thought about was how this Texas, I don't know what the word would be, but they've just taken over our league. Our league. It's our league. The SEC's our league, right? I heard guys on the radio today talking about how Southern accents, and the only place you don't have Southern accents is Florida. This song was written by a guy from Gainesville. Southern accents. You hear it? There's plenty of people with Southern accents in this state. It's not a badge of honor, but don't act like people don't have Southern accents. I don't have one because my family came from New York. And they moved down here, and that's what a lot of people did. All these people moved down here. They want to be here. It's like Spurrier used to sell. His big selling point was, hey, why not come down here now? You're going to retire here anyway. That's not what worked on me. But anyway, it's just so much of it. And as I'm trying, like July 1st is the day that both Texas and Oklahoma come into the league officially. But they're in the league now. You know that. But between the fact that A&M with the Yell Leaders is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life, and it's still weird. They do things differently than anybody in the conference. Texas, the Hook 'em Horns, and this is considered, I'm not going to do it, but it's considered a bird, basically, if you do this to a Texas fan. So I'm going to be doing it a lot. The whole media days being in Dallas, which... Dallas? There's no teams in Dallas. It just feels like this is in Boomer Sooner is like a Texas team, right? It feels like the state of Texas is taking over the SEC. Now, these are the kind of things you think about when you're bored and it's the summer and there's nothing to talk about football-wise. But you know what you're going to be doing. You're going to be watching a lot of replays of games. I'm ready for that. I can tell you that. All right, number 3 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. I got to say this the right way. I was watching the game on, I guess it was on Saturday, the College World Series game. And the candidates for the Goals of Spikes War were out there signing autographs and talking and doing media interviews and everything. And I was just like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Now, I don't have a problem with Charlie Condon winning the Gold Spikes, but I'm always, for the rest of my life, going to have a problem with Jack Caglione not being a finalist. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. He's the best player to ever play at Florida. I think there should be a statue up for him. I think or retire his number, do something to honor him. But Florida's not big on that. They put 3 statues for Heisman winners out front. You know, there's not a Heisman for these other sports. Lauren Hager, you don't think deserves a statue? Absolutely. She was the best player on 2 national championship teams in comparisons to Babe Ruth. That should get you a statue. You don't think Mouse Holloway should have a statue? Absolutely. But again, I know they're expensive. They aren't expensive when they're football players, but they're expensive when they're other sports. Anyway, it just kind of it made me more angry. Now, Cags did get the Olerud Award. John Olerud, of course, was a great two-way player. Cags, I don't know, was incredible. We all know that. Look, he wasn't a great pitcher, but I said this on Friday with Jeff on the tailgate. I said, you know what? Florida's going to miss – they're not going to miss Cags, a pitcher. They are going to obviously miss Cags, the hitter, the power hitter, the average hitter, the walks. They're going to miss all that. You know what I think they're going to miss as much as anything? This is going way out on a limb. Kag's at first base. He was a great first baseman. I think he may be the best first baseman I've ever seen in Florida. You know, some of the catches he made, he stretches. Anyway. All right, that's enough of me falling in love with Kags. All right, let's get to number 4 in our process service of Gainesville starting 5, which would be the Big Teasy did it again. And that is Scotty Scheffler. And my name for him is a Big Teasy because you'd think, oh, he left his birdie putt short in the last hole. And then Tom makes a birdie on top of him. And now they're going to a playoff. And guess what? I guess I'll just win in the playoff. It's ridiculous. All these wins, he keeps getting 6 wins, I think it is now. And during the tournament, if you didn't see this, protesters who hate golf ran on. I don't know how they got tickets, but they got in and they ran out on the green with smoke bombs and everything, and it was obviously a disturbance. And okay. And I'll say this till the day I die. People fought for your right to protest. People fought for your right to free thinking. People are still fighting today for your rights to be able to do certain things. But one of them is not yelling fire in a crowded movie house. It's not running on the green. You're trespassing. You know, I mean, just because you want to be like the people who stopped, and again, it's so stupid, these pro-Palestinian protests, because they don't even know what they're talking about. You want to get in an argument with me about it? I can get in an argument, and hopefully we'll be fine with it. I'm anti-Hamas. Let's put it that way. But the point is, most of the people that are protesting don't have any idea why they're protesting. But if you're breaking the law, it's still breaking the law. The laws don't get suspended because you guys sat around getting high and decided, let's go do something cool, man. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. But Scheffler is just ridiculous. He's ridiculous, what's going on with him. And, man, to have that much confidence and have that, I mean, it's not like it's a good swing. It's a swing that nobody, I told you guys, I tried to copy it and it ended up ruining me. It didn't ruin me. I just got worse. All right, let's go on to our final item on the process service of Gainesville starting 5. We have to get out of here because we have to bring in Andrea Adelson, and then hopefully we can all go and put deodorant on because we're both all sweating like crazy in here. But I'm just kidding. So number 5 on our process service of Gainesville is the Olympic qualifying, and I don't know how many of you guys have watched it. It's tedious in a way, but it's still exciting. Now, when Katie Ledecky's swimming the 1500, you know what I say? Where's a movie? She's going to win, and she's going to win by she's going to lap people. I don't care about watching that in the trials. But when it's Caleb Dressel swimming the 50, yeah, I'm into it. We saw this young girl from Gainesville, Florida, who went to Oak Hall running last night. If you watched that, she didn't get in the Olympics, but she was right there, had a chance. It's so cool to see all these people, and it's fun, and to watch it, and it's going to keep going every night, and we're going to get to that on the Swamp Games of the weekend, or Games of the Week. But it's a pretty cool deal. But it's also the problem, I think, is that people go, oh, there's 8 swimmers up there, or there's 8 people in the track. Oh, I can't wait to watch this. Oh, this is the first of 4 semifinals. You go, ooh, ooh. It's a way they do it, and I understand that, but I don't know, it could be packaged better. Anyway, let's see how much. It's almost like when I play golf with people and there's money being bet, and I'm not a guy who goes, I want you for 5, I want you. Like Spurrier would walk down the course and go, all right, I got you for 2, okay? And Normie, I got you for 2. And I would just tell everybody, hey, let me know what I owe at the end. I know I'm going to lose somehow, but let me know what I know at the end. But it's kind of like that with the Olympics. Let me know when it's all over, and and when we know who's on the Olympic team, and especially who's on the Olympic team that has any Gator ties. That's all I really care about. But a lot of people are really into swimming and everything, and I get it. I did actually, I don't know if I told you this, Zach, but my oldest daughter got me headphones where you can swim with the headphones on for Father's Day, and I mentioned it to somebody because I didn't want to swim because it's boring. I get so bored. Yeah. But now I got these headphones and it was great. But I wasn't in swimming shape because I hadn't swum, in like 4 years. So it got a little bit tiring. But I'm going back out there again today. So we'll see what happens. All right. We'll take a break. And when we come back, Andrea Adelson, ESPN, is going to join us. Can't wait to talk to her. We'll talk a lot about ACC football, but also about all football and Gator football as well. Always love having her on the show. And again, Thursday, Maddie Hayes and Robbie Andrew. You can't beat that combination joining us until we come back from a break. I am Pat Dooley. This is another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FATS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program. Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We've had her on before. You've clamored for more of her, and she is the greatest. Andrea Adelson, of course, not only a talented writer, and she's up for a bunch of awards. I mean, I don't win any awards anymore because I'm just a freelance loser, but you're up for a bunch of awards, and I appreciate that so much. But, of course, from ESPN.com. How you doing, Andrea?
I'm doing great, Pat. And, the UFJ school, I give all the credit to the UFJ school, being a graduate from there and helping me make my way from a stint reporter to now writing nominated. Haven't won yet, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Maybe I can bring one home.
Did you ever think, like, when you were in J school and you were trying to become a journalist and everything, but did you ever think you would be where you are right now?
Oh, my gosh. It's a total dream, right? I mean, all of us, when we get into this dream that we're going to have a job that keeps us employed for a while, writing about sports and writing about players and coaches and telling all of their stories. But you never really think, oh, my gosh, one day I might be nominated for a Dan Jenkins Award. I mean, Dan Jenkins, that's like,
one of my heroes,
he's on the Mount Rushmore, right? For folks who don't know, he's on the Mount Rushmore of sports writers. So for my name to be in the same sentence as his, no, you never really think when you're a student in Weimer Hall that one day you might be nominated for this terrific writing award. You hope maybe one day you could be, but it's obviously been a wild ride. 25 years, Pat. 25 years since I graduated from Florida. I was, because over the weekend, I've got a daughter who's a rising junior in high school. And took a little tour of the University of Florida,
Really?
and so had some lots of memories flashing back. Did get to still see the alligator boxes are still on campus, so I took a picture next to one of those.
I don't think there are any Gainesville
but
Sun boxes on campus anymore. That is, I mean, it's like, can you imagine getting in the industry right now?
no, I can't. I can't.
I'm so grateful I got out when I did, because it's obviously we all know what's happened with newspapers, but it certainly is interesting, and it's an interesting time. That's the problem, is people can't always explain what's going on with college football and the future of college football, because part of the answer is I have no idea. I have no clue where we're going to be in 10 years. I have no idea.
Now, guess what, Pat? I don't either. So if you're wanting me to explain it, maybe we need to find another guest, because it's all such a guessing game right now. And by the way, it's not just us. I mean, talk to administrators across the country, and everyone's got a different guess about how this whole thing is going to play out. Particularly now that we're coming into this revenue sharing era, in which schools are going to be sharing their revenue with student athletes, and I think, a lot of us believe that eventually there's going to have to be a split between, the power schools that are able to afford to do this, and maybe some others that can't. But how is that all going to play itself out? I mean, are SEC and the Big Ten going to eventually control everything the way that it seems like they are, or is it just going to be another division, power schools that feel like they can? It's still a big guessing game at this point.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't have any answers for anybody any more than you do. I have guesses like everybody has, but part of the problem is that we don't even know. Like, I was thinking about this earlier. I can't name every team in the Big Ten right now. Now over the summer, I'm going to get some reading material out and figure it out, and who's in the Big Ten, and who's in the ACC, and who's in the Big 12. I can't name. I literally, and you know me, I love college football. I can name one conference, and that's the Southeastern Conference. I got that down. I know Texas and Oklahoma are joining, but it's just such we almost have to re-educate ourselves. Who's where, who transferred where, who got in the portal, who's in the portal, who left.
Yeah.
It's like by the time we get to football season, you go, okay, I think I've got this down.
Well, that's why I texted you. I'm like, what are we talking about? So I can refresh my summer brain just in case I've forgotten some things that happened back in January, like guys who have transferred. I mean, that to me, I feel like I'm okay with the conferences, but players who have transferred either out or in, that's where I'm struggling come media day. I mean, I'm going to just have pages of notes making sure that I'm asking the right questions and I don't embarrass myself by asking a coach a question about a player who's no longer there. So keeping track of all of that, right? Like that, I think, when it comes to the conference movement, in the ACC, which is the conference I generally cover the most, you're just adding Cal, Stanford, and SMU. So it's not that bad. It's 3, but it's 18 total, right? And so there are no more divisions in the ACC, which they did away with. So trying to remember all 18 schools without thinking about what division, that can be more challenging, but I still remember all the divisions in my head. So that's the way I keep track of it. The Big 12 might be a little harder because, you've got like Pac-12 schools in there, former American schools in there, right? Big 10, which Pac-12 schools are going to be there. But even that whole thing, Pat, I was talking to some folks at Cal for a story that I'm working on about how exactly the ACC is going to do this, right? I mean, right. I think a lot of people are wondering, how the heck are you adding these schools from the West Coast? And I'm sure same questions in the Big Ten. The Cal equipment trucks, and I'm sure the same thing goes for Stanford and for UCLA when they have to go play Rutgers. They're leaving on Monday now so that they can get to the football road game by Friday. So think about that. Think about the adjustments that now have to be made for a lot of these schools that are going to be traveling coast to coast. It makes you wonder how long are they going to actually be able to do this, right? How sustainable is this current model?
Yeah, it doesn't feel sustainable. Like it's eventually, and again, we're only talking about football. Now you also have basketball. You also have lacrosse. I mean, I know they're gonna try to give you road partners and everything like that. They'll figure it out. But look, the money's coming in, and so if they have to put a little bit of money out, they're fine to do it. But one team, and you mentioned Cal, and again, when the schedules were announced for the ACC, I went, why is FSU or is it Miami? Why is Miami playing Cal? They're in their conference. Okay, now I get it. But so that got me looking at the Miami schedule, and they opened up with the Mighty Gators, and then it's pretty soft schedule. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, it really is. And so when you start trying to figure out, okay, who am I going to make as my preseason pick in the ACC or whatever? Look, it's hard because Miami always gets overrated. I think for the last 20 years, people have been picking Miami. At
least, yeah.
Right? To win the ACC, and it never comes true because they've never won the ACC. But again, if you look at the way their schedule lays out for them, it really does lay out for them to make it to the ACC championship game. Obviously, the opener is going to be huge for both of those programs, and I find it so fascinating. Both of those coaches, right, headed into year 3. But I think Mario has way more wiggle room at Miami because he's the native son that Miami has invested a lot of money into, and they're not going to cut the cord after 3 years. They're just not going to, no matter what happens this season. But on the flip side for Florida, even though Billy and Mario, I think, have 1 win difference between the two of them in the 2 years they've been, the fire and the heat surrounding Billy is so much stronger than what it is around Mario. I mean, Miami could go 8-4 this year, and I think that would probably be a disappointment considering the talent, the moves they made in the portal, as we mentioned earlier, and the way the schedule lays out. And Miami fans are going to be real mad. But Mario's going to be back for a year 4. I think if Florida goes 8-4, that's probably going to feel like a 12-0 season, considering their schedule, right? I mean, you look at the differences in their schedules.
I've said this, Andrea. I think if Florida goes 9-3, they're in the playoff because you got
it's possible
when you look at the 3 losses they would have. No matter what 3 you pick out, you can pick out any 3. I can get that means they've had that many great wins. So, but again, that's going to be difficult, like you said, though. So you think more pressure?
Wait! I've got a question here for you.
Okay.
What if one of those 3 losses is UCF?
Ooh. I wasn't counting on that, but okay. Let's say they lose to UCF, Georgia, and Texas. Well, that means they've beaten FSU on the road. They've beaten Tennessee on the road. They've beaten Miami. They've beaten LSU. I mean, they'll be in the hunt, I guess. But yeah,
they will be.
The UCF loss would take them down.
That would be bad.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
No.
But you're basically saying there's more pressure on Napier than there is on Mario to win that first game.
So.
And we know everybody's going to overreact to it, unbelievably, to whatever the result is. Yeah.
100%. But I do because of the way the schedule lays out. Because if Florida loses that game, the Florida fans are going to be done. Right. I mean, the overreactions are going to be like, see, we should have already gotten rid of this guy, can't even beat Miami, a Miami team that doesn't know how to take a knee, can't even beat them at home. Now look at the rest of the schedule. Right. And who they're playing. And I know Gator fans are going to be like, well, how are we finding 6 wins on this schedule? Yeah. Right. Like, how are we getting to a bowl game? Whereas Miami, if you look at, they've got 3 cupcake games after Florida, and then they get Virginia Tech at home, I believe, if I'm remembering the schedule correctly off the top of my head. They should be able to bounce back okay. And based on what we just said about their league schedule, they don't play Clemson. Obviously, they play Florida State. They don't play NC State. They don't play any of those schools. I think they play Louisville on the road, would be probably their next toughest game after having to play Florida State, which would be in Miami, by the way. So, you look at that schedule, I think there's way more room for Mario to make up for a loss to Florida as the season progresses than there would be if Florida loses that game for Billy Napier, based on their schedule.
I've said all along that if they need to go 5-1 in the first 6 games, Florida.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you get away with a loss, but then you're going to go into the real meat, which is Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, who a lot of people are putting in their top 5s, FSU at the end. I mean, it's going to be rough down the stretch.
Yeah, it really is, and they play A&M too, right? And
Yep,
I think A&M with Mike Elko is probably going to be better because of the way Mike Elko runs his program. I just watched it firsthand at Duke the last 2 years. To beat Clemson in an opener in year 2 and win 9 games. I mean, nobody thought that would be possible at Duke. So I feel like the changes he's made at A&M are going to benefit them. So I don't think that's a game that you can automatically pencil in as a win for Florida either. I mean, every single game is going to be a fight. And so you have to hope that lessons learned over these first couple of years, the changes that have been made, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, the fact that you have a veteran coming back at quarterback. And I have to tell you this, I think when a lot of people look at Graham Mertz, particularly among coaches, right? I've had several conversations with coaches when I ask, what do you think about Graham Mertz coming back for Florida? And I know Gator fans are probably really excited about DJ Lagway and want to see him like immediately. The coaches I have spoken to who've watched the game tape think that Graham Mertz had a really good year last year.
He did.
And so I think a lot of that is lost too when people think about Florida headed into the season because people are so much ready to get rid of him and start with DJ Lagway. If Graham can continue to build off of the season that he had last year before he got hurt in terms of the way he was able to manage the game and limit the mistakes that he made, which I think was a huge improvement from where he was at Wisconsin, then you're going to put yourself in position to be in the game in the fourth quarter, which is what Florida needs, right? You just need to be in the game in the fourth quarter. And honestly, if Graham Mertz had played that game against Florida State, I think it might have played out differently for Florida in that game. They were missing that veteran leadership behind center. So I hope people aren't counting out Graham Mertz headed into the season because I know for a fact there are coaches playing Florida this year that are not counting out Graham Mertz.
No, I think he's actually pretty popular here. But of course, everybody wants to see the Tebow league thing. That's what they're hoping for.
Right.
But there's no guarantee. I mean, Tebow was generational talent, and as a college football player, there's never been anybody like him. It broke Herschel Walker's rushing record, and still threw for 1,000 yards. So it's going to be hard to get up with that. Let's move on to. I do want to get to our yes, no, way, or maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. At Big Mills Cheesesteak, dying done the right way. I just got a call from Keith Miller over there. He wanted me to go play golf with him Friday, but I had just had an injection in my back. So, it hurts right now. Anyway, if you go there and you say you heard Andrea Adelson on another Dooley Noted podcast, free French fries with your order.
Ooh, yum!
Excited. All right, so you got 3 questions. If you can answer them, yes, no, way, or maybe. 1. FSU Miami for the ACC championship will happen.
No.
Oh, you see who elevating itself?
Well, I think the fact that they play during the season is probably going to have a factor in what happens here. I think NC State is going to be in the mix, quite honestly. I think they're in line for a good year. I think Clemson has the potential if Cade Klubnik can get his act together. Defensively, I think they're going to be really good. And I think Virginia Tech is probably a bit of a dark horse.
I've heard a lot of good things about Virginia Tech this year. And again, I know nothing about Virginia Tech. I know their coach is a good coach, and he got them going good. It'll be interesting to see if they really are that good.
Yeah, I think they can be because they bring basically back everybody on offense, all their production, and they bring back their top 2 pass rushers, including Antoine Powell-Ryland, former Florida Gator.
He was a good player.
He was terrific last year, and he's back. So they feel really good about it. And again, Miami and Virginia Tech do play at the end of September. I just, and Clemson and NC State play. So I just feel like without divisions, it becomes a little bit more wide open. And a lot of people aren't talking about Louisville, which played Florida State last year. They made a lot of additions once again through the transfer portal. And I wouldn't sleep on them either. So I think there's 6 or 7 teams probably in the mix, which makes it really hard to definitively say right now, yes, on Florida State, Miami. I think one of those schools, or potentially both, is not going to be there.
All right, number 2 on our yes, no, where, maybe with Andrea Adelson from ESPN. Andrea, Miami fans hate Florida more than any other school hates Florida.
Yes.
I do it.
Yes.
See, I keep telling people that, and they don't agree with me. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's true.
Oh, it's true. Oh, it's 100% true. I mean, because they continue to blame Florida for this game not being played, right? And so therefore, because they don't play all the time, the anger just continues to build and build. I think with Florida State, in Miami, and Florida State in Florida, there's just a mutual respect. But like even from every Miami fan that I talk to, I mean, no, they despise Florida.
I hate them. Hate them.
Hate them. Hate them.
There was I told this story before, but we were going up to the South Carolina game. We had a caravan of vans. Okay, that was my wife and one van and her friends, and I was with another friend, and we pulled into a place right by that the airport there in Jacksonville as we were going up to South Carolina, and there was a Miami fan who just was walking. We weren't thinking anything. They hadn't played him in like 10 years. And he's walking by, and he's like, "Losers, you guys are going down," and everything. And I'm like, "Do you even know who they play?" He goes, "I don't care who they play. You're losers." And I'm like, okay, let it go, man. I don't think they've ever gotten over the flop.
Nope.
And there was a Henry Davis knee on the ground, but they didn't call it, and he went for a touchdown. I don't know. Believe me, I'm okay with it. How much they hate Florida. All right, finally, on yes, no, where, maybe, the next step for all of the big 3 sports that I call football, basketball, baseball, and college is going to be expansion in the next 5 years. Every one of them is going to expand. Even though we finally got expansion in football, it's still going to expand again. Basketball, there's a lot of talk about it going to 72. Baseball, there's been a lot of talk about it going to 72 too. Do you think they'll all expand in the next 3 years because the money is there with TV?
In the next how many years?
10 years.
10. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I do too. I think I think it's inevitable. I think once fans get a taste of a 12-team playoff, they're going to want more.
Well, I mean, FCS, right. FCS has 16 teams, so you might as well just, right? I mean, I think 16 is an inevitability, and I think they're definitely expanding in the other 2 sports, without question.
Absolutely. Andrea, it's always great having you on. Is there anything you need to plug, or I always leave it open for people. Are you going to take some time off this summer? Or,
I took some time off already, and just working on some college football preview stories. So nothing that's going to be running imminently, although I do have a fun one, and I don't know if Florida fans are going to want to read it, but I'm writing a story about how Florida State and Georgia Tech are packing up their stuff to go play in a season opener in Dublin, Ireland, and no, Renegade's not coming. That's the number one question that I get asked. Renegade will not be there, but they have to go through very interesting lengths to pack their stuff up and get it freighted over. So that'll be some point.
What about packing that spear? Is that okay? Are they going to be able to bring the spear?
Well, see, without Osceola and Renegade, and plus it's not their home game. This is Georgia Tech's home game.
Oh.
Ireland did ask them if they would do the whole, planting the spear at midfield, and without Renegade and Osceola, they just don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's the best news I've heard all day. So, Andrea, always love having you on, and you're great, and you know that. We appreciate you, and good luck on the Dan Jenkins Award. I was up for the Dan Jenkins Award, but it was at the bar, actually. So I think I might have won that day.
I bet you did.
Thanks a lot, Andrea. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Like I was saying earlier, we'll figure out how we're going to do this. We know we're going to have a show Thursday. Monday there'll be no show. That's all I know right now, and then we'll get to everything else. Okay, let's do our fun stuff that we always love to do, and start out with our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks, because this is your last chance, guys, to get in this next drawing. We're going to make a drawing Thursday morning. We're going to tape a little early because then I'm going on vacation. You won't get your present or prize or whatever you want to call it until the following week, maybe a few days later, because I'm going away. But I will say this. I'm going to give the winner an opportunity to pick which of three things he wants to have, in addition to the $25 at Leonardo's at Millhopper. And so we appreciate Leo's, and you're going to get a choice between the hat from this year's tournament, or you could have the one from last year's tournament, which to be honest with you, I think was a better hat. But you get a choice. You can have a copy of my book signed by me, or you can have a copy of Patrick Young's book, Sit to Rise, signed by him. That's pretty good options right there, So you're going to have a chance to get one of those three things. And once we have a winner, we pull a winner on Thursday. Whoever that person is, I'll be in contact with them, and they'll be in contact with me. And we will decide what prizes they want. Let's get to our Leonardo's last chance, is what we're going to call it now, because this is your last chance to get in. And we've had a ton of people who've gotten in. I put it up on Facebook the other day, and then I screwed up. I called it Leonard's at Millhopper or whatever. I was trying to talk, and I can't. I have to. Never mind. It's another long story. All right, so here is going to be our very simple Leonardo's last chance to get in pick. NBA Draft Wednesday night. Is it a college player or a non-college player? Now, I've heard 6 names, 3-3. In other words, it could be like a Reed Shepherd, or it could be some guy I've never heard of, or it could be that guy Sarr. Wasn't Sarr going to Kentucky at one point, and they couldn't get him eligible or whatever? And I was worried about that. But anyway, so that's it. It's very simple. College or not. Just put college or not college. And when you send your text to Patrick Dooley 54 at gmail.com, and we'll see how many people get that right. And we've got a ton of people who've qualified, so it's just going to be a matter of pulling it out of the hat, and we'll do that on Thursday. Let's get to our Adam's Rib Gator of the weekend, and of course our great friends at Adam Rib. We love them so much. They serve the best food, you know that. Best barbecue in town, and we decided to go. And there were several people. We're running at the end, and we talked about this before. We're running at the end of obviously college sports, but Jasmine Moore is my selection for Gator of the weekend because she qualified for her second Olympic Games, and she did it by winning the triple jump, and that is pretty good. I've always wondered how you do the triple jump. And I know you skip, you hop, you jump, and sometimes I wonder why somebody thought that would be a good competition. But hey, Florida's really done well in it, in different men and women in different Olympiads. So, Jasmine Moore, I know you're qualified for the Olympics for the second time, but your biggest honor is that you're the Adams Rib Gator of the weekend. Congratulations to you. Now enjoy Paris. Have some croissants or whatever. Don't start smoking just because you're over there. It tends to gravitate towards you. All right. That is our Adams Ribco to go, or I'm sorry, Adams Ribco Gator of the weekend. And let's get to our Hesser and Kipke three things. And of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of family law and workers' compensation. If you're a loyal listener of this show, you know who we are by now. If not, Google the firm, check out the reviews, and hear what our clients have to say. Ken and Jennifer can be reached 24/7 via call or text at 352-339-9920, 339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. Three things. All right, number one, the draft is Wednesday, and nobody has any idea who's going to be the first pick. That's the fun part about it. Just like we just gave you the Leonardo's pick, believe me, it's up in the air who it's going to be. And I got to say, since there are not any Gators or anybody I really care about, it's not something I don't watch drafts anyway. I'm certainly not going to watch this draft, which is basically a lot of guys I've never seen play and some guys I don't like. And there ain't no Gators in it. I can tell you that much. Of course, most of the Gators pulled out of the draft because they weren't going to get drafted. But that's good for Florida. And I love it, so we'll see how that works out. But it is Wednesday. And nobody, the mock drafts are all guesswork versus the NFL, where you kind of know who the first pick is, and you're pretty sure who the second, and then 3, 4, and 5, and 6 are about going to be the same guys, maybe in a different jumbled order. This is going to be an interesting draft if you're Fran Frischella, who loves those foreign players that come over here from Europe and everything and do so great. He scouts them. That's his job. His job is to be in charge of that, and that's great that you got a gig like that. You get to travel, but I'm not that interested. You know what else I'm not interested in? And that's number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke three things. I am Swiftied out. I mean, I go on I think what Taylor Swift's done some amazing things. I don't know any of her music. I don't listen to it. I can't really name a Shake It Off. That's the only one I can name. Okay? But it's okay that people love it. And what the money she's made and everything, I have obviously I have no trouble with her dating Travis Kelce. I'm looking forward to the breakup song, but the bottom line is, they did this big stage thing where he came out and all this thing in a tuxedo and it's not like I resent them doing a stage thing. My first real concert was Jethro Tull, and he came out in a bunny suit. Okay, there were some hallucinogenics working that night, and I freaked out. But I'm just saying, it's okay to do those kind of things. But the trouble is the new Twitter. And I'm not going to call it the name that they've given it, but it's the new Twitter is now, it's nothing but Taylor Swift, political ads, and then people that I follow, which I love reading them. Those are the reason I followed them, but and maybe that's over. All right. Number 3, on our Hesser and Kipke three things is that it does feel this way, like there are 2 things you always know are going to be happening. 2 things. One is, every day, I think the Fever play against the Sky in the WNBA. Now, I haven't watched any of the games. I got to be honest. Not that I didn't want to, but there was something else going on. But it seems like they're playing every game. So, okay, that's great. You're getting great ratings and everything. And there's always some kind of cup in soccer going on, isn't there? It's a Copa Cup, it's this cup, it's that cup. It's the Stanley Cup. I think they're playing the Stanley Cup of soccer going up. I'm like, how am I supposed to get excited about anything? Like, I'm not excited about soccer. I have covered it many years, but anyway, I think you're getting my point. There's two things you always can count on. Sky versus Fever, Taylor Swift giving a concert somewhere in your backyard. Three things, actually, and a cup. Am I wrong about that, Zach? Is there not always a cup going on?
Yeah, I have friends that are really into soccer, and every weekend, every month, there's always some type of trade.
Yes.
It's just like kind of like UFC. I was never into.
But that's the thing. I'm always like, okay, why is this a big deal? Well, they have won it, but they won it last week. They won another cup last week. So anyway, that's my Hesser and Kipke three things for the day. Let's finish up with our Swamp Games of the Week. And we do have a few. And tonight is, of course, a huge game, Game 7 in the NHL playoffs. Those of you who are going to go to the Swamp tonight, they got great drink specials going on over there. I know you'll have a great time. A lot of Florida Panthers fans, I'm sure. Now, again, campus is pretty quiet right now, but there's still the people who are here, a lot of Panthers fans. That's Game 7 tonight. Tuesday, you do have baseball, Yankees, Mets. On TBS at 7:10. Okay. Two teams I hate. I'll root against them both. Wednesday, you do have another game on ABC and ESPN. No, I'm sorry. It's a draft. It's on ABC and ESPN. Wednesday, I'm trying to look for the time. I think it's at 8. Yes, it's at 8. Yeah. And then the next day, the second round, is at 4 on Thursday, which I guess let's just get rid of it the rest of it. None of these guys are making A teams, okay? So you got that going on. And then, of course, you got the Olympic trials, which kind of boring, as I said earlier, but they're also exciting. It's possible to be boring and exciting at the same time. But they are. And but they'll be on every night at 8 o'clock. So the finals of something, Right now they're into track, and I'm excited. Can't wait to see Grant Holloway run. But anyway, we'll be back with that. We'll see how that goes. All right. So that's going to do it for another Duly Noted podcast. Appreciate Zach for his great work. Appreciate Andrea. And we'll have on Thursday, we'll have Matt Hayes, like I said, and Robbie will join us also for Yes, No, Where, Maybe when we come back then on Thursday. And then I'll go on vacation. Great for me. Yay, Pat. All right. That's going to do it. Until next time, I'm Pat Dooley. I'm deep way back, and I am out of here.